Welcome to part 3. We're now going to talk about how you got from an idea to a book being on the bookshelves, and how long has this book been in the making?
Okay, so I wrote the book in the summer of 2011. I then, on a friend's advice, went and bought a book called The Writers and Artists Yearbook 2012, because it always comes out of your head. And in there it has a list of every publisher, every agent, known to man, they're all in there, and also what genres they take, whether they're open to new authors, how they want the submission, whether it's, some of them want just a letter and a synopsis, others want a letter, synopsis and first chapter, some want the first 30 pages, some want the first 70 pages, some want the first 3 chapters. So basically you find out how they want it. And this book then, this Writers and Artists Yearbook, also told you about the format they want it, what font, what style, double spacing, don't print on the back, you know, and how exactly they want it. So I followed all the guidelines, and I changed the format on the Word document to fit what they wanted. And then I began to send it out, exactly fitting the submission. So first of all I went to agents, and they weren't interested because I wasn't published. So then I went to publishers who wouldn't take me without an agent. So you were a rock and a hard place. You know, what do you do? So then eventually I wouldn't give up. I went back to the book and thought there must be some of these that will take you without an agent. So I'd given up on the agents because they're not interested unless you publish. So I then just kept hitting publishers, and I just went through the book and I just kept sending it out. I went through a lot of ink and paper and stamps and trips to the post office and kept sending it out. And the book said, you know, don't give up, because J.K. Rowling's, I think it was her 8th book before she was picked up. John Grisham, I've read all of John Grisham's books. I think it was his 6th or 7th book before he was picked up. So they're saying don't give up, but at the same time, if you keep hearing no enough time, you might just be rubbish. So, you know, this is also true. I felt strongly my book wasn't rubbish, and it was a matter of timing, and it was a matter of finding the right publisher for my book. I started to get feedback from the publishers, as I said earlier. So most of them didn't even acknowledge it. Some of them would send me an automatic reply, you know, just on a card, thanks for your book, no, go away. And you've got to have a thick skin. You've got to be able to deal with rejection. If you can't, don't even bother going down this route. So I just kind of looked at it that I don't care if I send it out to 500 publishers. It only takes one to say yes. I don't care how many no's I get. I just need one yes. And I kept going. Some of the feedback that came back, as I said, helped me to develop it better. They said, really like the concept, very original, it's fun, but there's not enough tension. So as I said, I went back, put more tension in. It also started with Sarah having just been dumped, and they were like, fairly negative start. So I thought, true, okay. So I wrote a prologue, and I made the prologue much more fun and brought some tension into the prologue. So I used some of the feedback from the publishers to help me make it better. And after about 6-7 months, and it still wasn't happening, I gave up. Excuse me. So I didn't think it wouldn't happen. I just felt it's not going to happen right now. So I just parked it. I put it to one side and said, you know, I'll come back to it and look at it again maybe next year. In the meantime, I started a degree in psychology and focused on that. So it was last year when my son came to stay with me for a little while, who's a marketing graduate, and I asked him to look at the book from a marketing perspective and said to him, where am I going wrong? Why can't I get this published? I know this is good. I know I can get this published. What is the block from a marketing perspective? At the end of the day, publishers are there to make money. If it's going to sell, they'll want it. So what is it in the book that isn't going to sell? So he had a look at it from a marketing perspective and said to me it was lacking description. There wasn't enough description. And he said, you might be able, he said, the characters are brilliant. I totally understand these characters. I get them. I like them. The characters, the descriptions are brilliant, but in terms of her house, the village, places, I'm not seeing it. I went, right, okay. And he gave me lots of really useful feedback. So I went back and I re-edited and re-polished the book. I rewrote probably 20,000 words. And then I thought, yeah, it's as polished as it can be. It's as good as it can be. And then I sent it out again. And I still got turned down. So that's okay. And then this summer, 2014, it was in June, I decided I'm going to self-publish. I'm not going to give up on my book. If I can't get into the publishing houses or the agents, I'll do it myself. So I then decided that I would self-publish on Amazon as an ebook for now, and I would look at paperback and other options in the future. So I then started looking for an editor. Because as much as my grammar's pretty good, I'm not an editor, so I wanted to make sure there was no typos, no grammar. So I found myself putting it out, asking for an editor, and I was put in the direction of Titan, who offered an editorial service. So I contacted them and asked them to give me a price on editing my book so that I could self-publish. And they replied by saying, well, you know, we're publishers too. We'll have a look at it. And I kind of went, oh my God. So they looked at it and they said yes, they would take it. And all of a sudden it happened. And that was July the 10th this year. And within 6 weeks it was on and it was happening. I had a lot of input into the format, the layout. The book cover, they have a team that do your book cover for you, but I had visualised this book in my mind with a particular style of cover, which is the vector style, as you see on my books. It's a cartoony type style, and unfortunately my publishers didn't do that. It's a particular style that they didn't have an artist that did, so they put me in touch with one that did, and I worked with her, and we came up with this design together, which I love and I'm really happy with. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. So different styles of publishers. Titan and Poole are an independent publisher, so they're between the big publishers and self-publishing. So they will do it for you. You don't have to pay for it. They do it all, but they take a reasonable percentage. Because of that, because they're paying for it all, you're not. Whereas when you self-publish, you're paying for everything. To have an independent publisher is great because I didn't have to pay for anything other than the edits, which I would have paid for if I'd self-published anyway. They produced it, they sorted everything else out, they put it out there. If it doesn't sell, they lose money. So it's in their interest to make it sell so they can recoup their own costs and give me a cut of that. So they've been under their umbrella. I get a huge amount of promotion. You know, they've got 39,000 distributors, and I'm kind of, what is that? What is a distributor? You know, I'm a new author, I don't understand these phrases, this terminology. What's the difference between editing and formatting? What is that about? I have learned so much on this journey. So editing is looking at the flow, the continuity, the typos, the grammars, and correcting them all. And then the format is the actual layout of the book in terms of its how many pages, what size font, how wide are the margins, that's all that part. So after editing goes to format, then it goes to publishing. But there are different sizes and specifications for the book cover depending whether it's on Kindle, whether it's on paperback, whether it's on audio. So you're having to pay the designers to do different things with the book cover. So yes, I'm very blessed I've got it published with an independent publisher.
In terms of how long it's been in the writing, you started in 2011, but how long have you wanted to be an author?
When I wrote the book, I didn't ever expect to be an author. Interestingly enough, it didn't occur to me. I write reports, you know, I was a businesswoman for a lot of years and now I'm a therapist. I write case studies, I write business reports, and all of a sudden I found myself writing this story one day. And as I wrote it, and I haven't written a story since I was about 13 years old, and as I wrote this, I thought, oh my goodness, I can write. This is actually quite good.
Who knew?
I didn't know. I seriously didn't know. I wrote the book in 24 days, 94,000 words. I was probably writing for 20 hours a day. I was like a woman possessed. Once the story started, it was just flowing out of me. I'd go to bed and my head would be spinning with, oh, I know what I can do with her, and I know how I can make that work, and I'd have to get back up and get back on the computer. I think I dropped 10 pounds in a month. Forgot to eat, I wasn't sleeping. But that was the raw version then. The book, start to finish, was finished in 24 days. Then it was another 6 weeks that I was editing and polishing it. Then, as I said, it didn't get anywhere for 2 years. And then I worked with my son on it for about another 2 months, improving it and polishing it even more. So if you added it all together, you know, it's taken 3 years, but the actual writing was about 5 months.
So how about book 2, which comes out next week?
I wrote it 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's clearly your style of getting the job done.
Get the job done.
So when we get on to books 3 and 4, are they already in the pipeline?
Book 3 is in my head, but it's not been started yet. So it'll pick up with the last one finished. Although I might take it forward a couple of years. So yeah, I feel that I'll start it because of the children and everything involved now. I think I'll just take it up to them coming into school age, and Fred being probably 4 or 5 rather than as he is at the moment, sort of just on 1. So the timeline might jump a bit, but yeah, it'll pick up where it left off.
So when can we expect number 3 to be out? Have you planned in when you're going to be doing that writing and blitzing it?
It'll be next summer when I finish uni for the year, which it'll be the middle of May. Then I'm dying to get on with it now, but I just can't. I don't have the time. But as soon as I sit down and write, it'll just flow. But it might happen before then. But with 18 assignments and 5 exams, and I don't know how many psychology books to read, I doubt I'm going to have the time to start it until May. But it'll take me about 6 weeks to write it, and it'll be published probably next September.
So as an author, you see that it's really important to have more than one book out. You mentioned J.K. Rowling, you've mentioned John Grisham, that it's not necessarily going to come in the first book. You've landed your first publishing contract.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if it was a big one.
Yes.
It'd be nice if it was a large mainstream and film rights.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, HarperCollins or Penguin offer me a deal. Thank you very much. Yes, I would take that. I've always seen this book as a film, and I visualised it. I imagine who would play the characters. Jennifer Aniston is for Sarah, and Daniel Craig for Simon, and Clarabelle is kind of a Julie Walters, but Julie Walters is too old, because I've got Clarabelle quite young and beautiful, around 30. But that sort of character, that kind of character actress to play Clarabelle. And I totally visualise this. And I feel that if it happens, it'll happen after book 2. So I think it'll be a combination that a film might combine the 2 books into a film. And I'm watching next summer. I'm thinking that something may happen next summer.
Excellent. I hope we're around to be part of that.
Thank you.